everybody, Miscellaneous here, taking you to yet another offbeat, interesting and quirky tourist attraction. Now, where I've been today was once considered so secluded that forbidden Roman Catholic services were held here. I am talking about St Pancras Old Church in Camden, London, although we're going to be focusing more on St Pancras Gardens. Aside from a couple of interesting graves, we have the hardy tree sitting in the grounds of the church. During expansion of the railways at the end of the late 19th century, all of the bodies from this churchyard had to be exhumed. There remained, however, the problem of the headstones and what to do with them. Thomas Hardy, who went on to become a famous author, who wrote classics such as Far from the Maddening Crowd and Tess and the D'Urbervilles, came up with the ingenious solution of placing them around the base of a large ash tree. Or did he? We will explore this theory and also a couple of others. I will also take a look at what the tree is like today. You will probably be surprised. Remember to hit like, remember to hit subscribe and click on that notifications bell. Come and take a walk in my shoes and I will see you in the video.
Here I am entering, and here's the map with the gardener's cottage behind it. I'd never heard of the hardy tree until it featured on television in popular crime series New Tricks. Situated in St Pancras Old Church, not to be confused with St Pancras New Church, a short distance away, in Camden, this area was my old stomping ground when I was a student in the late 1990s. I lived within walking distance of Camden town, and in fact still go to a dentist in the area. This is the Burdett Coutts Memorial Sundial. Angela Burdett Coutts, an important philanthropist and benefactress, laid the foundation stone of this memorial sundial, which was unveiled in 1879. It serves to commemorate all of those buried in the churchyard whose graves were disturbed. Now, the hardy tree came into being in the mid-1860s as Britain's rail system experienced extreme growth due to industrialisation and the growing number of commuters. Rail expansion directly affected the graveyard at St Pancras Old Church, and the human remains had to be exhumed and reburied at another site to make way for the new train line. An architecture firm was contracted to perform this sensitive task, and traditionally, unpleasant work is always dumped onto the lowest employee in the pecking order. That, at the time, was Thomas Hardy, who lived from 1840 to 1928, who would later go on to pen such classics as Far from the Maddening Crowd and Tess of the D'Urbervilles. We are now coming up to the Soane family tomb, and John Soane, who lived from 1753 to 1837, was an architect in the neoclassical style and designed this now Grade 1 listed monument for himself and his wife. Soane was responsible for designing the Bank of England building, although it's now mostly destroyed, which had a widespread effect on architecture at the time, and he also designed Dulwich Picture Gallery. The grave in the centre belonged to William Godwin and his wife, Mary Wollstonecraft. They were the parents of Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. Look, it's a square grave there. This building is the coroner's court, and the morgue lies right behind it. Incidentally, the expansion of the railways wasn't the only time that bodies had been removed from this cemetery. Earlier in the 19th century, the graveyard was known as a site for body snatching, also referred to as fishing, by characters out to make a fast buck by grave robbing. I thought the grave with the urn to the right of the picture was the grave of Mary Wollstonecraft, but I was so unsure I doubled back to the map so I could take another look and try and get my facts right for you. Anyway, back to the hardy tree, and after the completion of the exhumations, there remained the question of what to do with the hundreds of remaining headstones. Hardy derived the solution of placing them in a circular pattern around one of the trees, in a safe spot away from the railway expansion. Over time, the tree has absorbed many of the headstones and offers up a kind of grotesque, artistic, macabre beauty. The churchyard was reopened in June 1877 as St Pancras Gardens, following a movement which allowed former burial grounds to become public parks. This fountain dates from then. I adore it. Purple is my favourite colour. Walking past the Burdett-Coutts Memorial Sundial again, and incidentally Angela Burdett-Coutts was also known as First Baroness Burdett-Coutts. The graves we're coming up to on the left that lie at a small angle are those of Thomas Flaxman and family, and this includes John Flaxman, the sculptor and draftsman, and the square grave standing right behind that, when I pan round again, is that of Mary Wollstonecraft. Don't forget to check out my blog. I will always be a writer before anything else. We are now approaching the Hardy tree, and there are some contradictions to the traditional story. It's been noted that there's no proof that Thomas Hardy actually had anything to do with the tree named after him. Yes, he was given the job of overseeing the removal of coffins, but evidence refutes the myth that he had anything to do with the arrangement of the tombstones, and they could have been put into place long after Hardy had returned to his native Dorset. This theory springs from research that insists that the headstones came from St Giles in the Field parish, and not St Pancras. In 1854, laws were passed that enabled poorly maintained burial grounds to be shut, and apparently the gravestones could not have been brought here before 1877. It is looking rather forlorn and not like it did when I visited in 2017, when an ash tree was springing out of the middle of it, standing proud. Here's a photo taken then, my photograph. And here's another standing back behind the stumpy cross you've just seen. An alternative theory states that yes, Hardy placed the stones here, but dumped in a random heap, and the ash tree just sprang from a rogue seed blown, or transported by a bird, into the centre of the arrangement. This theory holds root. I'm aware of the double entendre. As a photo taken of the gravestone arrangement in 1926 shows no tree in the centre. It would appear that the ash sprouted from that seed which landed between the stones, or maybe someone planted it there, and thus the romantic myth of the Hardy tree was created decades after Hardy worked here. I then headed off behind the church. The gravestones in this graveyard are very, very old. It's very hard to read any inscriptions on them. Yes, you can hear all of the sounds of the railway line that sits just behind you. I was drawn to this interesting part in the corner. Incidentally, if you do come here, be careful what footwear you wear. There were plenty of divots and I had to mince across here in sandals. I like the way the gravestones have been placed around this tree. They look a bit like soldiers. Or could they be dancers, having a dance around a kind of makeshift maypole? I found this almost as interesting as the Hardy tree, I have to say. As I turn my back on the Hardy tree, let me tell you what happened to it. In 2019, a suspicious fungus had been detected on the tree, threatening its well-being. Overnight, on the 27th of December 2022, the Hardy tree collapsed. Only recently, last month, on April the 12th, 2024, a replacement tree was planted. A beech was chosen, as that species of tree features in both Hardy's prose and poetry. It's nearly 11:30 and these gardens are very atmospheric for you to come and chill out in. They're certainly worth half an hour of your time. Or longer, if you just want to sit back, relax, and eat your lunch maybe. St Pancras Old Church was open, so I had to nip in and do some nosy parking. It stands right next to the site of the River Fleet, which now runs underground. It is considered to have existed since AD 314, although evidence of this is scanty, and was used as a place of worship for Catholics due to its relative isolation and decay after the Reformation. It was restored from derelict to a working church in 1847. It looks like it's been taken care of since then. It's in pretty good nick, and it's certainly had a lick or two of paint in recent years. The altar, and the beautiful sun emblem, small but perfectly formed is how I would describe this little place of worship. The organ pipes, another emblem that looks something to do with the sun to the left. Yes, the sun seems to be a theme in here. I finished my day by walking past the Soane family tomb. Incidentally, the Sir John Soane Museum in Holborn was once his house and office. I've been there and it's certainly worth a go. I have blogged about it and I will leave the link in the description. Now I'm passing William Godwin and Mary Wollstonecraft's tomb. It's a square lump in the centre of this trio. After they were exhumed, they were reinterred in 1851 alongside their daughter Mary Shelley in Bournemouth in the Shelley family tomb. Thank you for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the video.
Come and see me soon for another miscellaneous adventure. Remember to click like, click subscribe and click on the notifications bell. Ta-ta for now.